Hello and welcome to BBC World News. So we start with our main story this hour in China. More than 100 people are feared buried in a landslide in China's Sichuan province. Now, we understand that around 40 homes have been destroyed in a village in the area just after the side of a mountain collapsed. We can show you some video that's been posted by the Chinese state media, which does show a rescue operation underway. Emergency teams are having to clamber over a vast area of rocky ground. Bulldozers have managed to get into the area to remove huge pieces of rock, massive boulders. Let's get more now from our correspondent in Beijing, Stephen McDonald, joins me now. Firstly, Stephen, any update on the search for survivors in this very remote area?
Is coming from the site of this frantic search and rescue effort. The bad news is that it's now being estimated that there could be more than 140 people trapped underneath this huge landslide. As you mentioned, 40 homes covered in those rocks, in rubble, in mud. The good news, though, according to the local government, is that apparently a couple and a baby were found alive underneath the rubble and rescued. Now, as is the way with these things, when somebody is pulled out alive, it urges the rescuers to go on, to continue the hunt in the hope that you might find someone alive. And when you see those pictures, it's hard to imagine that anyone has survived it, but they are trying very hard to reach anybody else they can.
Stephen, it's not the first landslide in China. It certainly won't be the last. But do you think more questions are going to be raised about how vulnerable people are in these remote areas of the country and the strength of the buildings that they live in to try and withstand these landslides?
Well, there's not much you can do when the top of a mountain comes down and collapses on your village. People are used to landslides and earthquakes in this area. It's a place of constant rain, which is probably what's triggered this current landslide. Emergency teams there are used to these types of disasters, getting in and trying to pull people out of the rubble. I mean, in 2008, 80,000 people died in an earthquake there. So they're very experienced, the rescuers there, but very tough conditions to operate in. These are isolated towns. And of course, once you have a landslide, it blocks the roads as well. Reportedly, an area of 2 kilometres along the side, in between a mountain and a river, was covered by this landslide. You can imagine how difficult it is to get ambulances in and out of there, and yet they have some ambulances there apparently. More rescuers are on the way. They're talking about hundreds of rescuers trying to save these people, but very difficult conditions. It's still raining, it's isolated, the roads are blocked, and yet they're trying.
Stephen McDonald in Beijing, many thanks for that update.